Well, hello and welcome to Waffle-Free Storytelling. It's Konstant here, and since all of the waffle is at the end, we can jump right into today's story, which is called Beat of the Drum. In the story, we meet Kumali standing at the top of the waterfall, looking down at the water crashing into an impossibly small-looking pond at the foot of it. Kumali had finally chosen her spot. This was the spot she was going to leap from. This was the place she was going to fly from. It had taken her a long time to find that spot. Some said too long. The watcher, though, he said it had taken her just long enough. Others had leapt off that waterfall before, but no one from that particular place. Maybe because the rocks around it were a little more slippery and the shale was a little too loose. Whatever the reason, this was Kumali's spot, and hers alone. The waterfall itself was wide and high and fast, and no matter how much Kumali had tried to see what was over the lip, she could never see further than the first few feet. The mist from the falling water was just too thick, and the water flowed just too fast, and the jagged rocks under that water stuck out just too far. Kumali was honest enough to admit that she was scared. She had seen people take the leap. Some had made it all the way down and, without exception, had said that it was the best ride of their lives. But others had been crushed and broken in the rocks below. And so Kumali sat on the edge of the waterfall with the water flying by. If she had a little more information, if she understood the flow of the water, if she could map the rocks and the shards, the roots and the angles, then she'd be able to jump. But she knew, even from the small distance down the waterfall, that she could see that the flow changed every day. So what would knowing more help? But still, she sat. Sometimes others sat with her and told her she could do it. But when she didn't move or she didn't do anything at all, well, they drifted away. It was only the watcher who never moved. Like he'd always done, he only spoke when she asked a question, and he only ever answered with another question. Kumali leaned over the waterfall, but knew her feet were as good as welded to the rock. "Why can't I jump?" she whispered. "I've got everything I need." The watcher smiled and said, "Are you sure?" This made Kumali pause. She had read every book on how to ride a waterfall. She had spoken to every person she knew who had made the leap. She had drawn the waterfall. She'd imagined the waterfall. She dreamt about it, and she built it out of sticks. She understood the theory of flow and had listened to the great gurus who said they had written hundreds, no thousands of waterfalls in their lives. Yet Kumali couldn't ride even one. "What am I waiting for?" she asked the watcher. "Have you heard the beat of the drum?" the old man said. Kumali stared at the old man. No, she hadn't heard the beat of the drum. What drum? But the old man would say no more. So every day Kumali returned to the waterfall, and she listened. She closed her eyes, and she felt the sun on her face, and the wind in her hair, and the water on her skin, and she waited to hear the beat of the drum. People came and went. As always, the only person to stay was the watcher. "If I never jump," Kumali said to him early one morning, "would you be disappointed?" The watcher smiled, and he said, "Would you?" Without saying a word, Kumali knew the answer, and knowing the answer filled her heart with a kind of terror she had never felt. Yes, if she didn't make the leap, she would be disappointed. Her fury and frustration with herself would grow every day. Her life would be plagued with wondering if she'd ever made it. It was in that moment that she knew she was going to jump. It was inevitable. It was what she was built to do. But could she really do it? "What if the jump kills me?" she asked the watcher. "And what if it doesn't?" he said. Kumali felt the rush of water in her veins. "But what if it breaks me?" she said. And the watcher chuckled. "And what if it doesn't?" Kumali still had 1,000 questions. "What if it turns me into something else?" And the watcher laughed. "And what if it does?" With all of these questions, Kumali stood at the edge of the waterfall. The noise from the pushing and the shoving, the flowing, billowing waves heaved and tore through the air. Then finally she asked, "What is the difference between the people who survived the leap and those who did not?" The watcher smiled. Did those who did not survive really make the leap? With those words hovering around her head, Kumali felt the wind against her back, pushing and shoving like it wanted her to jump and didn't care how she did it. Feeling that pressure, the fear in Kumali's heart soon took on a noise of its own. Boom, boom, boom. She held onto the rocks, turned away from the waterfall, and listened to the sound in her chest. Boom, boom, boom. She heard it. She felt it like thunder in her blood. The wild water flowed around her. All the words she had read and studied, heard, and thought she had understood washed away. She turned from everything other people had said and turned to the drum beating hard and loud in her own heart. And Kumali ran, and Kumali leapt, and she fell, and she flew, and still the drum beat. She rode that beat over every jagged rock and branch that tried to catch her and slow her down. She rode that beat from slipstream to slipstream. And with every beat of the drum, the water spat and sparked, shooting out rainbows so bright that they shot through the mist for everyone to see. And the people laughed, and they cheered, and they drove her on. And when Kumali finally landed in the cool pool at the base of the waterfall, the watcher was there to meet her. "So," he said, "how was that?" And Kumali laughed. "That was the best ride of my life." So, as we launch into this year, I don't even know how to describe it, we all have to take a kind of commitment to our lives and to our choices and to what we do with ourselves, since we have no idea what's coming after a wild and crazy year. Let's just see what this next one brings. So put your boots on, folks. It's going to be a wild one. All right, I will see you next time for more wild shenanigans from the universe. In the meantime, drop around to www.tinakonstant.com, where you will get all of the other Waffle-Free stories, as well as the new up-and-coming Waffle-Free stories for kids. It's going to be a fun adventure. All right, fellas, have a good one. Hug the people you love, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye now. Where's this lady check?